Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Or it's good to have you here if you're just joining us. My name's T-Mac. I'm the host here. Why do I do that, bro? Whatever. On the Call Out podcast, where we call out stupid things or like stupid people or whatever. I don't know. That might sound kind of rude. Whatever. We just call out stupid stuff. I like that. We should make that more of the kind of the line for the channel, like our slogan. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, welcome on in. It's good to have you. And today the topic is Heisman finalists for this year. I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about it. There's a lot more pressing stuff going on, especially in college football. That's my passion. I imagine that's what I'm going to talk about a lot on this channel. But nonetheless, we're here to talk about it. I have the opinion, and I'm going to prove to you why I'm right, that this Heisman finalist group is awful. Okay, it's probably one of the worst I've ever seen in my short life, and it's especially horrible compared to last year. That's all I'm saying. I think every single Heisman finalist last year should have won this year. So that's where I'm at with that. And yeah, we're going to talk about, we're getting into it. The reason I'm doing a call out, I guess, with this one, as the focus of the podcast, is I have heard people say, no, these are good players or whatever. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever, you're full of crap. So let's talk about it. So let's get into it. Okay, I know the presentation's not, top tier, whatever you want to say. You see it, we're good, whatever. Okay, so here's what we got. We're going to go over this year's Heisman finalists first, okay? Heisman 2025 finalists, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We got all. So let's talk about them. Okay. Fernando Mendoza, transfer from Cal. Okay. 2,980 passing yards, 240 rushing yards, 3,220 total yards. Okay. The rushing yards don't add a ton there. But the reason I wanted to include that is because he did have 6 rushing touchdowns. Okay. So I feel like the rushing game you got to address is good enough. Okay. He's not an elite runner, but there's enough there. And then 33 passing touchdowns. That's really impressive as well. Okay. So the 33 plus 6, that makes the total touchdowns I am all over the place. 39 total touchdowns on the year, okay? And then 6 interceptions, okay? Also, I want to clarify, I will talk about it later. Every single 2024 Heisman finalist only played one game after the conference championship. So these numbers are extremely comparable, okay? Extremely. So the teams last year either played in a bowl game and lost, or made it to the playoffs and lost immediately in the first round. Okay, so numbers can be extremely comparable. Let's continue on though. We'll mention as well, Indiana, number 1 team in the country, undefeated. Fernando Mendoza leads them there. Okay, perfect. Let's move on. Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia. I've said it wrong. I don't know why I worded it like that. Okay. These are super solid numbers. 3,192 passing yards, so more than Fernando Mendoza. Then he has 826 rushing yards as well. Really dual threat ability there, right? Nearly 1,000 yards rushing. It still is pretty crazy. And watching Vanderbilt is fun. I won't lie. Even though I did kind of not attack them, but go after them in my last video talking about the playoffs. Go check it out, by the way. They are a fun team to watch, and he is a good player. So that turns out to be 4,018 total yards on the season. These are all season totals, by the way. 27 passing touchdowns with 9 rushing touchdowns. So that is why do I keep wanting to say 300? My fault. 36 total touchdowns on the year, okay? With 8 interceptions, okay? 6 interceptions. It's not a drastic difference, but I guess if it comes down to it, it's like you can look at that. So either way, super solid numbers there. Vanderbilt, I forgot what bowl game they're playing in. They're playing a solid team, but he is part of the reason Vanderbilt turned things around. So you got to remember that, even though he did that last year as well. Good for him, man, right? He did a lot for Vanderbilt. They were really nothing before, so shout out to him for that. So I like addressing the players, the situations, the teams, the programs, all that, when we're looking at Heisman. But we continue on with this year's Heisman finalists. Oh, man, you guys can't even see that, huh? Let me just look at something here. let's adjust this slightly. Oops. Okay, and then, apologies guys, I should have looked into this a little bit more. Boom. Let's see how the other ones look. Okay. Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, let's get back to it. All right. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame running back. Never mind. I messed up what I was trying to say there. But 1,372 rushing yards for Jeremiah Love, 280 receiving yards. I know that's not a ton there. I did include yards so that I thought was like, okay, that's enough that I should have it there. I didn't include all the stats. I kind of just wanted to include enough and hit the biggest, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. The things that matter the most, but I still, did bring that up. So that leads to 1,360 total yards in receiving and rushing on the season. 18 rushing touchdowns, very impressive. That's a good number. 3 receiving touchdowns, 21 total touchdowns, right? Impressive, right? All of these numbers are impressive, but it's elite that wins the Heisman. But we will get into that later. But yeah, so Jeremiah Love was on Notre Dame. Led him almost to the playoffs. I have a whole nother video where I adjust that right. I've mentioned that a number of times, but those are super solid numbers. Good for him. He'll probably be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. Solid running back. Okay. Julian Sayin, the redshirt freshman for Ohio State, had 3,323 passing yards. And as you can see here, really nothing else in the rushing game. -2 rushing yards on the season. Not really a dual threat at all. Not really a dual threat at all. What am I saying? Not a dual threat. 31 passing touchdowns, 0 rushing touchdowns. The reason I'm not trying to hate on Julian Sayin or Ohio State. I just want to include the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns just to say he's not a dual threat, and kind of address that because all the other candidates that are QBs have rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Okay. And then he had 6 interceptions. So once again, those are solid numbers, man. Pretty good, right? Ohio State's second team in the country, only lost to Indiana, so leading to the playoffs, good for him. That's all stuff. Okay, so those are the numbers for the 2024 Heisman finalists. Like we said, right? Solid numbers, okay? Pretty solid. Okay, let's move on. All right. 2024 Heisman finalists. We're starting with the one that I think is the worst of these 4, okay? But anyways, we're going to dive into it. Dillon Gabriel, 3,857 passing yards, okay? You know what I'm going to do right away, by the way? I almost said chat. I'm so used to streaming. I'm going to read these numbers because obviously 2024 is in the past, and I'm going to immediately compare them to the guys that we were talking about in 2025, okay? So we'll go through them and compare them at the same time. So let's just go through his numbers real quick. So Dillon Gabriel, 3,857 passing yards, okay? Julian Sayin, QB, okay? Diego Fernando, way more yards than them, okay? Remember, like I mentioned before, Oregon only played 1 additional game. They lost in the first round of the playoffs, so it's not like the numbers are super skewed, right? It was only 1 more game. He just had better passing yards than all these other QBs, okay? And then, because the three of the 4 Heisman finalists this year are QBs, Jeremiah Love with 1,300 rushing yards. It's just not elite, okay? My boy LJ Martin on BYU, he almost has like equivalent numbers to Jeremiah Love, okay? I know he does a lot for that team, but it's just not the same, man. Dillon Gabriel did more for Oregon than Jeremiah Love did, okay? Because, even Oregon made the playoffs. Notre Dame did not, okay? There's another one. All right, anyway, let's get back to it. So Dillon Gabriel, 3,857 passing yards, the most passing yards of any QB in this year's Heisman finalists. Then he had 149 rushing yards, nothing crazy, but he had 4,006 total yards. Combine that. I wanted to include the 4,000 total yards because I think that's pretty impressive. If you're getting 4,000 total yards, I think you got to address that. But 30 passing TDs, 7 rushing touchdowns, so that leads to 37 total TDs and then 6 interceptions. So the passing, rushing, and total touchdowns is not insane because even Julian Sayin, 31 passing touchdowns, that's 6 less. Well, actually, it's 1 more passing touchdown than Dillon Gabriel had, but he obviously rushed right? 6 interceptions is the same for Julian and Dylan. But then look here, Fernando Mendoza had 39 total TDs, right? Dylan Gabriel only had 37. Diego had 36 total TDs, and Dylan only had 37. Okay? So, but I think it's very significant that he had 4,000 total yards on the season. And like I said, the game numbers are not that much skewed, right? It's about the same amount of games. Maybe one more for Dylan Gabriel compared to these guys, but still drastically more. The fact that he had that much more total yards than all these guys, except for Diego Pavia, because I forgot about the rushing yards. But the difference between Diego, I'm going to say these names wrong. I'm sorry. Diego and Dylan is Dylan made the playoffs. Diego didn't. It matters if you make it in the playoffs, if you lead your team. Winning matters in the Heisman votes, okay? Being elite and winning both matter because you're not going to have like a guy on a 1-9 football team in, okay? So that's the difference there. So I think that's extremely impressive. Yeah, I look at that as Dylan would win against this year's Heisman finalists as well. Because he made the playoffs. Diego Pavia did not. They have similar numbers in total yards, right? If you even want to dive even more into it, right? Diego had more interceptions than Dylan, right? And then Fernando Mendoza and Julian Sayin. For Julian Sayin, it's quite a bit less total touchdowns and quite a bit less total yards. And Fernando Mendoza, it's the yard difference is quite a bit. So that's how I see that. Dylan Gabriel is the only one that, if you gave me a strong enough argument, I could say he wouldn't win in 2025. But from what I can tell and what I've seen looking at things, I just don't believe that at all. Okay, I just feel like Dylan's numbers really prove it, and he would win the Heisman in this year. Okay, let's look at Travis Hunter. Okay, the Heisman winner from last year. He had 1,258 receiving yards. Okay, that's not crazy. That's pretty solid, though. You know, that's getting 1,000 receiving yards is not the easiest thing in the world. 15 receiving touchdowns. I think 15 receiving touchdowns is more impressive than receiving yards, so that's really well done. But here's the other thing. Okay, he had 36 tackles on defense, 4 interceptions, and 11 deflections. Okay, there's other stats. Obviously, I think he had a rushing touchdown. He had a tackle for loss. Okay, but it's like one thing, and it's like super insignificant that I didn't include it. But he had the most snaps in college football last year. And I mean, if you're talking about just pure domination on both sides of the ball, it's hard to beat. That's why he won it, man. He's just so good at both, right? If you're looking at these stats on just defense or just offense, he's not going to win it. But being super, super good on at both of those, right? I wouldn't say those are both elite numbers, but being super solid at both, man, you just, you just can't, man. You can't just say that's not good. So I think the 4 interceptions is super. The 4 interceptions and then the receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, I think, is huge. I mean, the tackles deflections are not as impressive, but I think 11 deflections is actually a really solid number as well. But for leading the country in snaps, just doing it, keeping at it, being super solid, I think it's easy that two-way player, absolutely, he would have won it last year. So, or he did win it last year. He would have won it this year. Okay. Final two. Ashton Jeanty, you might say, like, oh, you're hating on Ashton Jeanty. No, I'm just showing you the two biggest things that matter, and his other stats don't even matter at all, okay? Ashton Jeanty, 2,601 rushing yards, which is second all time in FBS history. I forgot to add that there. FBS history, okay? Remember, we weren't always throwing the ball like we are now. They were running a ton back then, so that's crazy that that's history. So, and if you want to look at Jeremiah Love, doubled, okay? He doubled it. He doubled his numbers here. Jeremiah Love in rushing yards, which is crazy. And then he also had 29 rushing touchdowns, okay? Jeremiah Love only had 18. And this is only one more game played, okay? Ashton Jeanty lost in the first round of the playoffs with Boise State, right? Oh, and I guess I'll address it as well with Travis Hunter. He lost in a bowl game Yeah, so which is only one additional game than all these teams have played. So Ashton Genty, man, just incredible numbers. Easily would have won the Heisman this year. Okay, a lot of people are mad that he didn't win it last year. I think I that's tough. I watched Travis Hunter more. Ashton Genty is a beast, but man, like Travis Hunter, man, just the fact he played so much, he played like every down basically, and he did what he did. That's just incredible. That's just insane. So, but nonetheless, 29 rushing touchdowns is insane, and to be second all time in FBS history, yeah, you're winning the Heisman in this year's um, Heisman finalists, whatever. So, really well done. Okay, and Cam Ward. Okay, let's see. So 4,313 passing yards. Okay. You guys want to look back at the other QBs? Passing yards. Dylan had 3,900. Okay. Cam Ward still had 400 more. Okay. Julian Sayin, 3,323. Cam Ward had him by 1,000 yards. And then Fernando Mendoza, Diego Pavia still had him over 1,000 yards. Crazy, crazy numbers from Cam Ward, which he set the Miami single season record with that. He also had 39 passing touchdowns, Miami single season record. So 10 more than Ashton Gentile. I mean, that's 29. Like rushing touchdowns and passing, that's hard to compare there. But let's look at the other QBs again. Dalen Gabriel only had 30 passing touchdowns to Cam Ward's 39. Julian Saint had 31 to Cam Ward's 39. Okay. 27 passing to 39, 33 to 39. Yeah, it's just so much better, okay? I also did include his 4 rushing touchdowns. I know that's not extremely impressive, right? About every QB on here except for Julian Sayin had more rushing touchdowns. I believe Dylan did. 0 from Julian, and then 9 for Diego and 6 for Fernando. But Cam Ward still could run the ball. That's why he had 4 rushing touchdowns. I didn't include his rushing yards, but it was solid. But I wanted to include all that to say he had 43 total touchdowns on the season, and that is crazy, man. And then only 7 interceptions as well, right? A lot more passing yards, 7 interceptions. When you're throwing the ball more, right, to get these more passing yards, to only have 7, that's really impressive. So I just think including all that is extremely incredible. And then there's quarterbacks on here that I think had a better percentage passing, but 67.2% passing is a Miami single season record. I just think about the history of Miami, and that's why I really emphasize these Miami single season records. That's just crazy, man, that he's setting that. I think that just proves more and more that, like, yeah, he would have won this year as well. So, credible numbers from Cam there. So, wanted to address that and go over that. I mean, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory with all these, right? And like I said, I can't see you arguing against Cam Ward winning it this year. I can't with Ashton Genty. I can't with Travis Hunter. These 3 in particular definitely would have won it this year. Okay, just like looking at these 4 guys, like they were solid. They were super solid. Just not elite like these 3: Travis, Ashton, Cam, and like I said, Dylan. I mean, the total yards itself and making the playoffs, right? The total yards gives him the edge against everybody except for Diego Pavia, but he led his team to the playoffs. Okay, that's where I would give the edge to Dylan, and so that's why I would say he would have won last year as well. Golly, this year, man, I keep mixing it up, but you know what I'm saying. So that's why I do believe that these 4 from last year's Heisman finalists would have won this year. Crazy, crazy stuff. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything else kind of on this here, but super incredible numbers. Like, and I was looking at it too, like Julian Sands, I just don't understand. Like, look at those numbers, man. They're not Heisman numbers. Okay, great job on the 6 interceptions. Okay, 31 passing touchdowns, 3,320 passing yards. Those are good, right? For a redshirt freshman, those are really good. But it's just not Heisman caliber. That's why I'm saying this year's Heisman is not good. Jeremiah Love, like I said, my boy, LJ Martin. I'm a BYU fan, man. His numbers are not that crazy better than LJ's. I'm not saying LJ's better than Jeremiah Love. I do believe Jeremiah Love's better, but it's just LJ did not have a Heisman season, and you got to be much more dominant. And especially when last year, Ashton Genty basically doubled your numbers. Come on, man. So there's that again. And then Diego Pavia, he had a pretty good season as well, right? But his team didn't make the playoffs, man. His team didn't make the playoffs. So, but yeah, like we were looking at it too. Cam Ward's numbers are just incredibly better than Diego's. It's crazy. It's just so crazy. But like, yeah, that comparison to Dylan, maybe I'd love to hear thoughts on that comparison there, but making the playoffs matters to me. So, and then Fernando Mendoza, he's got an extremely solid team around him, right? So, and those are pretty good numbers. I mean, that's a dumb argument. I'm not going to say that, right? Oh, like the players around. Yeah, that's just, yeah. So, um, yeah, I'm not gonna be about that there. But anyways, um, just trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. But no, I think that's about it. Oh, we got over 20 minutes. Man, I can just talk, chat. It's kind of crazy. But nonetheless, I hope I made sense, and I hope you agree with me. Just kidding, of course. But no, I'd love to hear thoughts. I'd love to hear you prove me wrong. But I don't know, man. Just looking into it, that's what I really think and feel there. So, but let me know, and appreciate if you sub to the channel. A lot more content coming. Drop a like on this video as well. Share it with family, friends. It's holiday season, right? You'll be seeing them a lot more. So be like, hey, check out my boy Tech, the Call Out Podcast. So, but yeah, so any and all support there is amazing. You can also go check out my other channels. I I have content and I live stream for gaming. I play video games and comment over it. So a lot of fun there. Just go check out links. There's so much going on. I do a lot of stuff. So go look into it. But anyways, once again, thank y'all so much. Appreciate you being here. And we'll see you now.